So the ingredients we're going to need today is 1 to 2 pounds of ground beef, 2 chicken breasts, 1 pound of sausage, and 1 box of Zatarain's Jambalaya rice. The total price is now on your screen. It adds up to about $13.20. This is including 2 chicken breasts and 2 pounds of beef. The price of beef and chicken and smoked sausage may vary depending on where you live, so this will not be the exact cost depending on your location. This serves about 7 people, and so depending on how many people you're cooking for, you definitely will have leftovers. This is what I normally have when I'm cooking jambalaya. You can substitute really any of the meat. You just need to have protein in there, or else it's just gonna take like a bunch of boiled rice. Today I'm substituting out the ground beef with venison because it's what I have on hand, and the smoked sausage is also gonna come from venison as well, so I'm having deer sausage in this as well. So I'll put the nutrition facts down below in the description if you're curious to anything about that. And let's move on. So the first thing you want to do is add 3 cups and 3/4 water into a big pot, as you can see here. So next thing we're going to do is get the chicken ready. So what I like to do is I like to cut most of the fat off while I'm off certain pieces while I'm working. You can cut the fat off beforehand, but you just don't need the extra added fat on the chicken. You can just throw those pieces away, but make sure to throw out your trash the next day or the day of cooking this because it will start to smell. But the main thing you want to do with this chicken is you're going to attempt to make shredded chicken. So you want to cut long strips of chicken, but you don't want them to be too thick of pieces because then it just won't cook well. The piece I just put in the corner is about the size you want. The chicken will shred if you do cook it properly. Just remember that it will be boiling in a pot of water for about 20-25 minutes. And as you can see here, this is all the chicken cut up, and you're just getting ready to go cook that. Alright. So the next thing you want to do is go ahead and start warming up your pan that you're going to be cooking your chicken in. Add some butter to it so that the chicken doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan, and it just makes cooking a lot easier. So you're going to want to set the stove on about 5 for heat level, so medium heat. And then once the butter is melted in the pan, make sure it covers the entire bottom of the pan like so, and then plop your chicken in. So to season the food, you're going to want to add a good bit of pepper to this, and I mean a good bit. Then you want to go add a little bit of salt next. Not too much. Then once you're done with the salt, make sure you cover it in paprika. Just remember that it's a sin not to give your food any spice. It's one of the 7 deadly sins, and it's right up there with not having any protein or meat in your food. Finally, you want to add a little bit of Worcestershire sauce to the chicken for some added flavor. To check to see if your chicken is cooked, what you want to try and do is you want to get a sturdy or firm spatula and try and press into the chicken and split it in half to see the inside of the chicken to make sure it's all white. If you do have a flimsy spatula, as you can see, won't go through the chicken all that well, but this is just to make sure your chicken's all the way or cooked all the way through, and so that you won't get salmonella while you eat jambalaya. Once you're done cooking the chicken, add it to the pot, and then get ready to get started on the ground beef or the venison. You don't have to worry about having the pot heated up yet, just make sure that you have the water in the pan, or in the pot. Yes, the pan was washed each time it was used. I'm not that bad. FDA, please do not come after me. Next, do the same thing you did with the chicken. It's still on the same heat, so keep it at medium. Add another layer of butter to it, and then add your venison. I'm having about 1.5 pounds of ground beef, because that's all I have on hand. Now, for your spices, you're going to want to add a little bit of salt and definitely a good bit of pepper. Now, this time you don't have to mix it all up. You can just straight add the Worcestershire sauce to this pan. And make sure you cover a good bit of the meat with it, but you don't want to drown it. So what you want to do is once you're done, or once your beef is browned and whatever you're cooking with, you're going to want to put all the beef to one side of the pan and try and squeeze out the grease. I'd like to say have a firm spatula, to get all this grease out, because if you have a flimsy one, it just won't do the job as good. So what you want to do is have an open metal can. It can be a soda can, a vegetable can, or any type of metal can. Put it in your sink and have a lid covering the top of the ground beef after you've strained most of the grease out of it. And then what you want to do is leave a little gap and try and pour the grease into the can. This is so that you don't melt the plastic pipes under your sink, and sometimes people just like to reuse the fat. I don't know why, they just do. Next, you want to add the ground beef to the pot and then put the pot to the side. If you had the normal sausage links, you wouldn't have to do what I'm doing right now, which is taking up this ground up deer sausage and having to brown it. Normally, you could just cut it into little bite-sized pieces and just throw it in the pot and not have to worry about cooking or browning it at all. But since I don't have any of that on hand, and jambalaya is basically just a bunch of meat and some rice together, it works out perfectly. So add the sausage to the pot and then get ready to start cooking the whole entire meal. Once you have all the meat in the pot, next thing you're going to want to add is the rice and the seasoning packet that come inside of the box of jambalaya. The jambalaya box does have directions on the back of what to do. So once you have everything on the pot, the box says to make sure to bring it to a boil, or at least to where bubbles are coming to the top of it, and set it and let it simmer for 25 minutes with a lid on top of it. Make sure to stir everything in before you start cooking, and periodically stir throughout the 25 minutes that it's simmering. Now, what I like to do as well is I like to add a little bit of vegetable oil or olive oil into the pot so none of the rice or any of the meat or food sticks to the bottom of the pot. Make sure to let the pot sit after you're done cooking. Make sure to let the food sit with the lid off of it for about 5 to 10 minutes because the food is going to be super hot and the rice and all the meat in there does not like letting go of any heat. I've seen it sit there and steam for about 20 minutes and it's still piping hot as soon as you put it in a bowl if you're going back for second or thirds. This is what it should look like once it's done cooking. There really shouldn't be any liquids near the top. Don't be afraid if you have to add a little bit more water. I've had to do that a couple of times, but it should turn out fine and it does smell amazing once you open that lid. Don't forget to stir it during the 25 minutes and enjoy.